If AI is the Wild West, does that make data the new gold?
Yesterday, I shared with you the work I was doing on how to predict the price of a stock in the next 2-3 years based on their declared earnings for the coming years. And I said I was going to have to adjust it based upon their PE ratio, their PEG. And the more I looked at that, I said, no, that's not good, because each stock behaves differently. So what I have to do, I felt, was to go back 10 years and find out what have they declared for the last 10 years on an annual basis, what their earnings are going to be, and then how that declaration of earnings reflected on their future price, because I believe that a stock's price is a reflection of the company's ability to earn money, to generate profits in the future. So what I decided I needed to do was, for the 37 stocks, go back and gather the data for their earnings declarations for each year, and then determine how that related to the subsequent year's growth figures. That's a lot of work. But what I'm realizing, the deeper I get into this, is that data, as Matthew McConaughey says, is the new gold. If you have enough data, and if you know where to get it, accurate data, and then how to create an algorithm that gives you a projection based on past history, you will get a level of predictability of somewhere, I would guess, within the 75 to 85% accuracy rate. To me, that's good enough, because first of all, it's going to give me an alert of when losses are going to come, because I've done this on Apple, and I want to show you the work I've done on Apple, and you can literally predict where the losses are going to come in the year based upon their earnings of the preceding year. Because again, the market is a reflection of future earnings or losses, not so much what is current. You'll see when I show you this that every time they come out with low earnings projections or negative earnings projections for the next year, their current year's stock goes down in price. It's done. But again, the important number, once you know that, and you can see it, Apple's stock is down 10% this year, and they're saying they're going to have 9% growth in their earnings. I think before the end of the year, you're going to see they're going to have negative growth in their earnings over the next year. That will affect this year's price. What will affect the next year's price, 2026, or 2025, is what they see their earnings coming in 2026. It's evident. I'll show you on the chart. What I want you to know is it's going to take me some time. I've done it for Apple. It took me about 3 hours to, first of all, gather the data, then figure out the formula and write the formulas on the spreadsheets. So it will take a while for me to get this, but it'll only be available on my website. It's too in-depth. It needs to be understood and explained. And so if you want to have a part of it and be a part of this effort that I'm engaged in, you need to come to the website, sign up for the platinum level. There is a 50% coupon in the description. That coupon is going to go away a week from today, next Saturday, and it will be null and void because this is going to be too much in depth. What I'm going to have to do is hire some people to help me gather this data, to understand the data and make it available to you. So if you want to see this and be a part of it as I'm growing it, you must sign up if you want the 50% discount before this coming Saturday. Okay, let me take you to the computer, show you the work that I've done in the last 24 hours, the changes I've made, and see if you don't think this has some merit.
If AI is the Wild West, does that make data the new gold?
This is what I showed you yesterday, and it was a projection of what a stock was going to be worth in 2025 and 2026. As an example, let's look at NVIDIA here. Based on their projections, they projected that in 2024 that their earnings would grow by 400%, 91% in 2025, and 21% in 2026. That gives us the 2 years in advance, we're already in 2024, of 112% growth. I then said the current price is $879. Its PE ratio is 24. And then what I attempted to do was adjust that PE ratio to give me a better reflection of what the price of NVIDIA would be in the future. There you see the numbers changed because this chart is directly tied to the stock market. So I was projecting a price of 15.27 or a 73% increase in price based upon that 91% increase in earnings. And then I was showing a 17% increase in price in 2026 based upon that 21% increase in earnings. And then I went on and said that this price would be 89% above the current price. So it gave me some idea of what kind of growth I should expect out of NVIDIA over the next 2 years. And then I went into allocating my portfolio. But then last night, I got to thinking about this, and I said, I just don't think that's going to get it done. So with that, I added this section to my spreadsheet. And as you can see, what it is I'm going to go back to 2009 and gather the data on each one of these stocks as to what they projected their earnings to be, and then what the stock price was as we move forward. I did it thus far on Apple, and here you can see what I've done. This again is I've added the lines down here. This is their earnings projections for 2009 through today. And as you can see, back in 2009, they projected 32 cents per share, and it went up as we got into now modern day. For 2023, they are for it's $6.57. 2024, $7.16, and 2026, $7.78. But look at the percentage differences. These are all 7, 9, and 9. And back here, you see some 68, 68, 73, down 10. And so it's changed, and therefore I need to, for my ability to adjust my ability to predict the future based as we move forward, not based totally on the past. Now, this number is the stock price. As you can see, in 2009, it went up 147%, 53.26. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Here, this is, let's see what year this is. That's 2015. Stock price went down 5%. Well, what gave that? Why did it go down? The earnings went up 43%. That's why it went down. Because the price of the stock reflects what the market believes is going to happen in the future. So they were not bidding the price of the stock based on that year's earnings. No, they're bidding the price of the stock based on the future year's earnings. So we go forward and we can see the same thing. Here we have another decrease in earnings. We have that year a 29% increase in stock, but the stock price went down not because of the 29%, because of the negative 3%. And that's the way it works. So as we move forward, we see here a 10%, which tells me that that number is going to change from 9 to probably a -9. Okay? So we learn things from data. From data, we can then make some assumptions and some predictions of what's going to happen in the future. So then I went through and I said, okay, so I went and I said, what is the average of these numbers, the average earnings projection is 26%. This is the average price increase in the stock. So this 26 is 73% of that 35. So 73% of the earnings gains actually end up in the stock price. So with that, I then come over here and I say, okay, the current stock price of Apple is 170. They're projecting a 9% increase, but we're only going to put 73% of that 9% into the price. Does that make sense? So then that equates to a price in 2026 of $181. Okay, so then we move forward, and it says that they're going to have a price or a earnings growth of 8.7% in 2026, an 8.7. But we only want to take 27. We only want to take 73% of that into the future. So in 2026, we see a price on Apple of $193.02. Does that make sense? I think it does. That tells me that in the 2-year period between, or 2.5 year, between now and the end of 2027, if I buy Apple at its current price, I'm going to have a 13% cumulative gain in the stock over that period of time. Does that make Apple a stock that I necessarily want to invest in? Probably not. And what this will do as I fill in all these boxes for all these other stocks is will give me that same representation. Again, these numbers are based on, I believe, a faulty way of gearing how much of the projected gain is going to actually materialize into stock price. So what I have to do now, as I say, doing this took me about 3 hours. I've got to go find their earnings projections all the way back to 2009. Then I've got to put in my formulas and make my projections. Now, what I want to do from there is I recognize there are other things that come into play, such as maybe it's not just earnings that determine the price increase. Maybe I also need to consider revenues. Maybe I need to consider free cash flow. Maybe I need to consider interest rates and inflation. Maybe all of those numbers need to go into this chart so that I can predict what the price of Apple is going to be on December 2027. That's what I think the data will make available to me. But I've got to gather the data. I know where to get it. I need help getting it. And then what I want to do is share my learnings with you. If that's not worth $60 a month to you, for me to hire the people to do this work, and what I know is it'll get better. I mean, it got better just in one day when I realized that the method I was using the growth value based on the PEG it wasn't going to work because there's too many variables and there's more data that's available that can help me make this workable. So that's my challenge to you. I've figured this much out. I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to fill all these boxes in. What this also means is I'm not going to have time to do a video every day. So more and more of this is going to be shared on our Stock Talk, which I will hold. This happens to be Friday. I will hold this afternoon in about 4 hours with my tribe, and I will walk them through this and say, this is what's coming in the future. This is how you're going to access it. I'm not sure exactly what it will look like. This is a lot. This is burdensome, but I'll figure that out as we go. So that's my belief that data is gold, that Matthew McConaughey started this video asking the question, does that mean data is the next gold? Yes, it is. And it will be the next gold, not only in figuring stock prices and not only figuring the stock prices for the 37 stocks I have, but every stock in the market. What I know, though, I'm going to need a new computer. Already, this computer stalls because of all the data I'm pulling into it on my Google spreadsheets. I'm looking at my emails. I'm looking at my brokerage account. I'm looking at all my data sources. And then I'm also trying to edit and upload videos. So I'm starting to understand what compute power is all about. I'm coming to the point that I'm going to have a GPU rather than a CPU, and I'm going to have a stronger memory to process all this data that I'm going to be bringing into my computer. Okay, I'm Kerry Grinkmeyer. I'm a retired financial advisor. I love to create things. I also love building these spreadsheets and putting them together so that I have a different look than 99% of the people in this world as to what's going to happen in this stock market. And if this is the kind of work you would like to see, you know how to get on the bus. Talk to you again in the future.